approach to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Lesser,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Forrest,
Here.
Councilor Bailey,
Here.
Councilor Carbone,
Here.
Councilor Clancy, Councilor Durick,
Here.
Councilor Rhodes,
Here.
Councilor Timbrow, Councilor Zambrello. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, and good evening again, everyone. Before we start our agenda, I want to read a statement, and then I'm going to ask Councilor Bailey, after I read a statement, as well, to say a few words. We are saddened by the loss of brave firefighter Corey Compatore, who lost his life on Saturday at the rally. He was a hero in protecting his family. Our condolences and prayers go to his family. We also think about the two other individuals who suffered very serious injuries, and we pray for their recovery. We are grateful that former President Trump is safe after the horrific assassination attempt on Saturday. I also want to thank our first responders who acted so swiftly at the scene to prevent further tragedy. President Lincoln, in his inaugural address in 1861, appealed to the better angels of our nature, and it is time for all of us to do that again. There's no place for political violence in our society, and we all have to turn the temperature down. I have heard from so many folks in Wethersfield over the last few weeks after the difficult times we had last month. The conversations have been so positive and with the focus of healing and moving our great community forward. I believe in every difficulty lies opportunity. I feel very confident we are in the process of healing here in Wethersfield, and I am also so hopeful that our country will heal. We live in a great town with extraordinary people, and we live in the best country in the world. Thank you, and God bless you. And now I'll call on Councilor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through your chair, if we may have a moment of silence for Chief Compatore and all those who were injured in the assassination attempt.
Yes, moment of silence, please. Thank you, Councilor Bailey. Thank you, everyone. Now we will proceed with our agenda, and I will call up the Chief of Police for some. Oh, we're going to do tourism first. Sorry, Chief. Wethersfield Tourism. Can't get off that quickly. Chris Trazik. I skipped ahead, Chief. I apologize. Apologize from Tourism, Chris Trazik. Chris.
Good evening. Now I feel bad. I'm here to talk briefly about the Tourism and Cultural Commission and do our annual report. For those who are not really familiar, because we have some newer council members, we really have been around for more than 20 years, designed to promote, encourage visitation, work with our stakeholders and partners to facilitate events and improve the assets in our community and encourage visitorship as well as promoting local businesses. So the commission includes the shopkeepers, Webb Dean Stevens Museum, Wethersfield Historical Society, the Art Academy, a couple of residents, businesses, both retail and non-retail. The EDIC, the Historic District Commission are all of our stakeholders as we go through this. And one thing that we did this year, which we had been working on for quite a while, was Wethersfield is now a certified local government. Something we had been working on for many years, finally got it over the finish line, which enables the town to apply for additional funds under historic preservation and history with the government. So a great additional resource for the community. So you all got folders, cute little folders. These are our kind of welcome. So I just want to run through some of these. You can look at the rest of it through your leisure. So the commission has been doing a fair amount of marketing over the years. It's really looking to leverage its small budget and in a way that to the markets and the demographics that bring the visitors and the dollars to Wethersfield. We've really been working on going digital wherever possible and using QR codes. So in here you have print ads at Connecticut Magazine, CT Visit, which is free listings. We've been taking advantage of any of the free listings that we can. And then this is digital advertising. So it goes on the web, it goes on there, it highlights us as people are searching for things to do. And as you can see, we've been putting the QR code on those. It allows us to start tracking better where people are coming from, where they are looking at the ads, and the rest of it. So we also have a couple of business cards. If you want more, you can always see Joya. We created these when we became a cultural district. Again, you notice there are QR codes for events, for the directory, for the Heritage Walk. Great way to hand it out. It's easy for people to keep. They're going to hang on to it. And then we have the same thing for the Great Elm. And we just recently got clings, if you haven't seen them. These are for all of our stakeholders and partners in the cultural district. Put them on their storefronts, put them in their windows so that we all show a unified front as we go forward in the community. So we generally are still doing our rec cards. We've been doing our brochures. You have some of the newer brochures in this folder. And I think because of all the work that we have been doing over the last several years, you're really starting to see those results in the free advertising in the form of articles saying, hey, Wethersfield is a great place to come. You should come here, one of the 10 best, one of the 10 6, one of the 10 7. So we have been doing great in terms of a great place to come and visit. And we have also been starting to see that with the awards to the local businesses, with the Hartford Business Journal, with the Connecticut Magazine. And I think it's really because of the efforts that all of the stakeholders and partners have been doing on bringing people into the community. It encourages more businesses to come into the community. Visitors have a great experience, and it's showing in the awards that our local businesses are getting. And it's recognizing the wonderful efforts that they've been doing. So congratulations to all of our businesses. Our ad in the Connecticut Magazine recognizes them, and just want to say what a great job they are doing in this community. So one of the things the commission talked about in the past year was with the new influx of visitors, as we've all seen, there's a lot more going on in Old Wethersfield, as well as the new events that have been coming up. We have Porch Fest, we have Art Walk, which just took place on Sunday for the second year. We've been talking about the need to do more strategic marketing. We don't have an unlimited marketing budget, so it makes sense to really think about where those dollars make the most sense. So with that, we did hire a consultant who will be helping us develop a strategic marketing plan. The hope is that we have a plan that will take us forward for several years, including working with our social media person in making sure we take advantage of all of that free marketing thing that we can, as well as presenting a unified voice, and that includes all of our partners as well. And they've all talked about it. They're all going to benefit from it. So Connoisseur Media will be starting at the beginning, actually this month. Haven't they started yet, Joanne? And then we'll hopefully be finished by the end of the year. And that means that come next year, we'll be able to have a great opportunity with that. The other thing that the commission has been doing is leading the town in developing the plans for America 250. We have been participating in all of the state meetings from the state get-go. We have town residents who are not part of the commission who have indicated an interest. We are welcoming them. We are setting up a subcommittee so that we will have great 250 events and celebrations going on. We are probably ahead of most of the other communities in the state in terms of developing those plans and trying to take advantage of what we've already been doing and put a little spin on some of them. We also have been participating in the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, which is finishing up their strategic plan. It's a very important part of visitorship, encouraging people to come and make sure that they are safe while they are visiting. And we have our photo contest going on right now. It ends at the end of August, so everybody, I'm talking to all of you out here, You should be taking pictures of events or things that are going on, send them in. We give out money as awards. You get chances to get put into the town calendar on a regular basis, and we also use them in the ads that are placed. So it's a great opportunity to market our community as we go forward. And then lastly, just a couple of simple stats. We've reached over 1 million people on Facebook. We have 7,500 followers. Instagram is rebuilding its followership. We had a little problem with, a little hacking going on, but we're rebuilding that. YouTube, we have 42 videos out there with 22,000 views of those videos. We don't have quite as many on X or Twitter as it's called, but it's working on there. And we do a monthly newsletter that goes out to over 1,000 subscribers. 60% opening rate, which is a great opening rate for a newsletter as you go through. And lastly, the commission is very proud to be one of the sponsors for the town in the soon-to-be-released Preservation in Action 10 Stories of Stewardship. And you should know it's because we're a certified local government that we could apply for and get the grant to be able to sponsor that book. So we've already been able to take advantage of that. That is being sponsored along with Webb Dean Stevens and other organizations, and the launch should be in September, so look forward to it. Photography is beautiful. The stories are wonderful. Anne Crowfoot Cookrow, for those who know her, was a huge historian in town, and this was really a project of love for her. And I just want to say thank you, letting us change our name back to Tourism and Cultural. I think it more accurately reflects what we're doing. And with that, I will take any questions if you have any.
Chris, thank you for that great report. Counselors, any questions? Well, we appreciate all the work you're doing, all the work the Tourism Commission is doing, and we're proud of being the largest cultural and historic district in the state. So thank you. Thanks to Joya and everyone else. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm now going to call off the Chief for purposes of swearing in and promotions. Chief?
It's annoying, sorry.
Evening, everyone. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Town Manager, and Councilors. Thank you for all being here this evening for this momentous occasion for the Wethersfield Police Department. We are here to recognize and honor the appointment of our new Deputy Chief, Gustavo Rodriguez, the promotion of Sergeant Brando Flores, and the appointments of Officer Ian Luna, Eric Peck, and Kyle Wellington to the Wethersfield Police Department. First, I would like to introduce you to Deputy Chief Gustavo Rodriguez. Please step up. Deputy Chief Gustavo Rodriguez's journey in law enforcement began in 1995 with the Hartford Police Department. Over the years, he has served with dedication and excellence in a variety of roles, including as patrol officer, major crimes detective, crime scene processing detective, vice and narcotics detective, DEA, FBI task force officer, and investigator with the Office of Chief State's Attorney's Cold Case Squad. His diverse experience spanning different areas of law enforcement has provided him with a wealth of knowledge and expertise, making him a valuable and well-rounded leader. After a distinguished career with the Hartford Police Department, Gustavo retired in 2015. However, his passion for serving the community and his commitment to law enforcement led him to the Wethersfield Police Department in 2016. Here he has demonstrated exceptional leadership and dedication as a patrol officer, sergeant in the patrol division, and lieutenant in command of the patrol division and detective division. Gustavo's service extends beyond his law enforcement career. From 1993 to 2002, he served in the United States Army Reserve, attaining the rank of specialist. His military service is a testament to his dedication to our country and his willingness to go above and beyond for his duties. In addition to his extensive field experience, Gustavo has shown a commitment to academic excellence. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from Albertus Magnus College, and most notably, in November of 2023, He graduated from the University of Louisville, Southern Police Institute's 150th Administrative Officers course, earning a graduate certificate in Police Executive Leadership Development. This dedication, continuous learning, and professional development is truly inspiring and sets a high standard for all of us. Deputy Chief Rodriguez, we are confident you will continue leading with integrity, vision, and a deep sense of duty. Your journey has prepared you well for this role, and we are filled with hope and optimism for the positive impact you undoubtedly make in our community and our department. Deputy Chief Rodriguez is being pinned this evening by his daughter, Juliana Rodriguez. Any words? Sure. Okay. Here's my mouth address.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say how grateful I am, how truly blessed I am. I thank God for this opportunity. My family's here, my mom, my dad, my daughters, my son-in-law, my girlfriend, Sam. It truly is an honor, and I appreciate this opportunity. Mr. Town Manager, thank you very much for this opportunity, along with the chief. They put a lot of their trust in me, and I look forward to continuing the good work that this police department is doing, and to support the men and women of this police department as we move forward. And again, I'm humbled by the crowd of the officers that are here, and I thank some of the people I worked with in Hartford who taught me and mentored me along the way. I appreciate Chief Bright being here, retired Lieutenant John Smaltz, Captain Halley even retired. These other guys, they had hair, by the way, when I first started. They did. So anyways, I thank you guys for all your support and all your mentoring. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Next, we have Brando Flores. Brando Flores began his public service at the age of 18 when he joined the U.S. Army as an infantryman at Fort Benning, Georgia in November of 1997. His commitment and service to our country continued in 2010. Following his military service, Brando transitioned to a new path, law enforcement. He worked as a correction officer for the state of Connecticut before becoming a Hartford police officer in 2008. His tenure with the Hartford Police Department saw him excel in various roles, including patrol, the Community Response Unit, the State of Connecticut Shooting Task Force, the Homicide Division, Major Crimes, and Vice Intelligence and Narcotics Division. These assignments showcase his versatility, skill, and unwavering commitment to public safety. In 2021, Brando was fortunate to join the Wethersfield Police Department. Since then, he has continued to exemplify excellence in his service. Brando is an adjunct instructor for the State of Connecticut Police Officer Standards and Training Council. This role allows him to share his vast knowledge and experience with the next generation of police officers. Additionally, he serves as a field training officer, a member of the Honor Guard, the Wellness Task Force, Uniform Committee, and one of our PIOs, Public Information Officers. Today, as we promote Brando Flores to the rank of sergeant, we acknowledge his past accomplishments and the promise of his future contributions to our department and our community. Sergeant Flores, your journey has been marked by excellence, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to service. We are confident that you will continue to lead with the same integrity and dedication you have defined your career thus far. This evening, Sergeant Flores is being pinned by his friend of 30 years, Scott Driscoll. Scott?
Congratulations.
I would now like to introduce you to Officer Ian Luna. Officer Luna is a lifelong resident of the town of Wethersfield. With his impressive background and dedication to public service, Officer Luna is joining our ranks, and I'm confident that his contributions will significantly enhance our department and our community. He earned his bachelor's degree in criminology from Central Connecticut State University and is a U.S. Army National Guard member. He has served 5.5 years with the 143rd Military Police Company. Officer Luna also brings a wealth of practical experience from his time with the New Britain Police Department, where he served for approximately 3 years. As Officer Luna transitions to the Wethersfield Police Department, we are excited to have him join our team. His diverse background, combining academic knowledge, military experience, practical police experience, makes him a tremendous asset to our department. We are confident that his skills, dedication, and passion for public service will help us continue to uphold the highest standards of law enforcement and community engagement. This evening, Officer Luna is being pinned by his FTO, Pete McGee.
Thank you. Welcome.
Congratulations, Will.
Now for our two newest members of the department. First, I'm going to introduce you to Officer Eric Peck. On July 11th, Officer Peck graduated from the Connecticut Police Officer Standards and Training Council 381st training session. He's a graduate of South Virginia University in Rhode Island, earning a Bachelor of Arts in Administration of Justice. As part of his studies, Officer Peck was fortunate to study abroad at the University of Bristol in England, focusing on criminal justice and philosophy with a concentration in ethics. Officer Peck is also an Eagle Scout, just like our former Deputy Chief Petruzzi, who's now the Vernon Chief. So, good son of him. This evening, Officer Peck is being pinned by his father, Paul Peck.
Bristol, huh? I went to Nottingham.
You know I couldn't pass it up, Mark. I know you were. Last but not least, Officer Kyle Wellington. Officer Wellington also graduated on July 11th from the Connecticut Police Officer Standards and Training Council 381st training session. Before joining the Wethersfield Police Department, Officer Wellington attended Mitchell College and received a degree in physical education. After receiving his degree from Mitchell College, Officer Wellington continued his studies and played Division I baseball at CCSU. He then attended National Personal Training Institute, receiving several certifications for personal training and nutrition. This evening, he's being pinned by his wife, Jen, daughters Harper and McKenna. A special thank you to the law enforcement community that's here tonight, and we couldn't do it without you, so thank you. All right, so everyone this evening, please join me in congratulating Deputy Chief Gustavo Rodriguez on his well-deserved appointment, Sergeant Brando Flores on his promotion, and Officers Ian Luna, Eric Peck, and Kyle Wellington on their appointments to the Wethersfield Police Department. Congratulations. That concludes that portion of our ceremony. Now comes the point you all waiting for. Now my bi-monthly presentation. Okay. Now they all leave, watch. They all go. They all go. No, sorry,
Congratulations, you're welcome to stay.
there's going to be 5 people left. Don't worry about it. I know. Oh, thanks, Manny. Oh, don't worry. I'm not taking offense if you leave. Don't worry about it. It's going to get a lot cooler in here now.
Like the guy that. He's a runner.
Yes.
All right. Well. So, good evening, Council. All right, this is our biannual monthly police report, but I'm doing something different this time. This is going to be the report for fiscal year 23-24. It's going to be the full year in review from July 1, 23 to June 30th, 2024. Currently, we budgeted for 50 police officers. There's the demographic breakdown of where we're at. Currently, we're at 46, but recently we have 2 that accepted offers of employment, which is going to push our numbers to 48. So hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be 2 shy of being fully staffed. And I expect by the end of the month to a month and a half that we will be fully staffed. Like I said, that's unheard of for most police departments right now. That's a testament to what the men and women here and the community, the support that they give us, show you that we are fortunate to have the department we have. For fiscal year 23-24, cost for service total for the department were $35,873. And I see people in the audience saying, wow, that's a big number, right? Well, I got a secret for you. 35,873 calls that we take. 29,658 of those calls were generated by the Wethersfield Police Department. Those are our officers going out and doing patrol checks, doing traffic stops, and doing selective enforcement. That's our men and women creating those numbers. Those are based on your phone calls, where you identify issues, speeders, so forth. Our proactive approach to policing. Like I said, of that 29,658, 21,538, or 73%, were for patrol checks and traffic stops. The remaining 6,215 of that are from the residents. So these are the total calls we received from the community over the year, 6,215 that come in. So you see the monthly average, you see the calls by shift, you see calls by month, you see calls that, majority of our calls, 44%, occur on day shift, 40% on B squad or eves, and 16% on C squad. And I broke it down a little bit further. So that equates to about 17 a day, 5 per shift for fiscal year 23-24. So you look at it, when you say that number at 35,000, you're like, wow, you know, the town's busy. Our officers are busy. They're out there patrolling the community, doing the patrol checks, and being proactive. This is what they are. The other 6215 comes from the community. So that speaks volumes of what we're doing, and that speaks volume about the community and how Wethersfield is when it comes to that. And we look at traffic accidents, 556 for 23-24. That's a decrease of 12 from 22-23, which is at 568. Majority of our accidents occur on the Celestine Highway, Wells Road, and Berlin Turnpike. Every 2 months, I tell you that. Those are our main arteries. Those are our issues. You know, they're high traffic, high volume roadways. They're main cut-throughs between Hartford, Rocky Hill, and down to Berlin Turnpike to Newington. So that's our high volume of traffic in those areas where we have our accidents. And it's not for a lack of enforcement in those areas, because it is, but that is a decrease of 2% from last year, but we could always do better. And here's the breakdown of when they occur. Majority of our accidents occur on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday between the hours of 4 and 6. 82% were non-injury, and 32% involved individuals between the age of 26 and 45. You see it there. Now, getting back to our accidents, the areas they're occurring in, and I say, well, what are we doing about it? What are we trying to do about it, enforcement-wise? There's our enforcement. 4,409 motor vehicle stops. And if you look at the map and you see where the stops are, and you put an overlay of where the accidents are, we're in the areas where the accidents are occurring. So it's not for us not being there, it's just a timing issue. But of the 4,409 motor vehicle stops, 1,572 were failure to obey a stop sign. Individuals going through a stop sign. Another 1,018 were traveling unreasonably fast. You're speeders. Another 415 were for failure to obey a traffic control signal. That's your red light violations. You add those three together, that's 3,005 motor vehicle stops for hazardous moving violations. That equates to 68% of our motor vehicle stops. The other 1,404 stops for distracted driving, cell phone, talking on your cell phone, and things of that nature, not having a seatbelt. So we are enforcing the violations that are causing the accidents. But we always can try to find a better way of doing things. And again, here's our breakdown. Traffic stops, 27% between the age of 26 and 35, and 80% of our stops were for Caucasian. Now, ironically, we are down 725 stops from last year. We had 5,133. That's based on staffing. Once we get back up to full staffing, we'll get that traffic unit back out there, and those numbers will skyrocket again. We'll get them back in that EV and start making stops. So we're almost there, almost getting back there. Crime reporting. What are we seeing for crime in the town? What's our biggest issue when it comes to crime and what we're looking at? So we had 1,059 reported incidents. That's a decrease of 105 from last year, which we had a 1,164. It's a 9% decrease. Of that 1,059, 422 or 40% of our calls were for disorderly conduct. That's your 53A 182 statute, disorderly conduct. And there's 7 situations for that. It's a noise complaint, it's a behavioral issue, it's somebody obstructing traffic, walking out in traffic, probably our panhandler, large gatherings, and trespass. So that's what you're looking at when it says for disorderly conduct. That's what it is. There's 7 situations under that statute we follow. Following that, at 19% or 198 calls are thefts from motor vehicle, which we all know is an issue, and that's a nationwide issue. 153 of these calls, or 14%, was for shoplifting. And then we go down to 139, or 13%, for domestic-related issues, and then 67, or 6%, for our stolen motor vehicles. So if you take those top 5, that equates to 979 of our 1,059 calls, which is equivalent to 92% of our calls. That's what we're responding to on a daily basis for crime reporting purposes. And you see the area of where they're reported. And again, when we look at it, when we look at how we're going to deploy our resources, how we're combating crime, we look at the time of the day of the week, and when they occur, majority-wise. Again, Majority of the time that these occur, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays. So people are out away from their homes or family picnics, whatever. That's when we're getting most of our calls. And here's our crime stats. And I did this, our uniform crime reporting, a report goes out. This one's from 2022 on how we stack up against the surrounding towns around Harford County. The Hartford suburbs, towns around Hartford, Hartford County, and then a mid-state 5, and how we compare to them. Now, this is our crime rate per 1,000 residents. So currently we have, per the report, we have 27,038 residents. Per our crime rate, or total NIBUS crimes we had they tallied, which was 674. So they had 84 crimes against persons, 562 against property, and 31 against society. That was 674. You divide that by the 27,039. That gives us a crime rate of 24.9. So now, if you look at that, compare it to like the first column, Hartford suburbs, Wethersfield, South Windsor is 24.3. We have the second lowest crime rate compared to South Windsor, compared to Hartford, which is at 77.6. So if you see where we stack up against the towns. Hartford County, again, you look at the 25 towns that make up Hartford County, we're sitting right around 7. Now, obviously, you take the distance from Hartford, the closer you get to Hartford, obviously, the crime rate's going to go up a little bit compared to being out in Canton at 8.1. It's just, and that's where we look. And then the mid-state 5, like I said, Wethersfield, Berlin, Rocky Hill, Newington, and Cromwell, we have the lowest crime rate amongst the 5 towns in our area. Again, that's a really good testament to our department and what our men and women are doing based on those patrol checks, being out there, being proactive, being out in the community and trying to identify issues we have in our community. So we're going to go back and touch on the hot topic button that everyone talks about, is our deaths from motor vehicle. That always stands out, 198. This is where they're occurring. Now, if you look at it, we didn't zoom in on this. I can zoom in on the computer, but I can't do it on this. The majority of these break-ins occurring are the Village at Wethersfield Apartment on the Berlin Turnpike, Fairway Drive, and Jordan Lane and Folleybrook Boulevard. It's tough. Those are condensed areas, outdoor and parking, quick in and out accessible to those cars. But it's not a lack of effort on our part. And I've always reiterated, and I said it before in the past, we could be there, but what can you do to help us help you? And, if you don't have, if you have a garage, park your car in the garage. And if you park your car in the garage, close the garage door. Lock your car. Don't leave your key fob or keys in the car. Park your vehicle in a well-lit area if it's outside. Don't leave valuables in the car in plain view, because they will smash your window. Place wheel locks in the trunk. If you have wheel locks on your tires, don't leave them in the glove box, because when they smash the window, they go in the glove box, guess what they find? The wheel locks, and then you come out to your car on blocks, because now they got your tires, and they'll do it like that. Park your car in the driveway. Have motion lights, cameras. Don't use your center console or glove box as a mobile lock box. Don't pull your valuables in there, because they'll pry them open real quick and they'll get your wallet and everything else. Install alarm, close your windows, and just be vigilant, be alert. So when we look at deaths from motor vehicle, again, time of day of week. 73 or 37% occurred at between 7 and 9 a.m. The majority of them occurred on Sunday and Monday for a total of 42%, which was 84. And then the remaining 58% occurred between Tuesday through Saturday. So again, we look at these things, how we deploy our resources, when we apply for grants, when we're going to deploy them, how we're going to deploy them, and how we pay for them. That's the biggest thing too. So we still have some funding left in our grants for that. So we saw the accidents, we saw the crime reporting. Now, here's our patrol checks. We're there. It's just, we got to catch them. It's being in the right place at the right time. It's having the ability to do that marked or unmarked with our undercover operations, time of day of the week, where it's happening, how do we have it. And just like we do this and we do surveillance, guess what they're doing? They're doing counter surveillance. So they know when we're coming in and out. So it's not that easy. It's a cat and mouse game. But we're out there. Our men and women are out there doing what they need to do. So it's not for a lack of effort. And we'll keep trying. We'll keep working on it. So with that, we'll touch on our ordinances. 1,003 for the year. Parking violations, fireworks, noise complaint, town ordinance violations, And then our ACO, child seat, and officer school crossing, 564. So that's Wethersfield PD in a nutshell for fiscal year 23-24, but based on the numbers and where we're at and where we're going to be, I hope, excuse me, I think we're going in the right direction, and we will continue to go in the right direction with this staff. So any questions?
Thank you, Chief, for the excellent report. Counselor, questions? Let me make a couple comments. First, really appreciate all that you and your team are doing. I'm glad to note that crime is down, and I do want to make, did Officer Silva just leave? He's in the back. Manny, I want to make a comment. Don't leave yet.
Not so fast, man.
I got to observe the PAL program, which every Tuesday night from 4 to 7, our officers are with our young people at Pitkin all summer. It's a great program. I went down there and I played in a basketball game with the kids and with the officers. And let me say a few things. First of all, the kids have tremendous respect for your officers, which was great to see. I was on a team with Officer Knapp. Some of you know him. He's a great player. And that was fortunate I was on his team. I had the great misfortune to be guarding Officer Silva in the basketball game. For those of you that don't know, he is a heck of an athlete and a heck of a basketball player. I hope to get to play again. I will not be guarding you. But kudos to you guys and the PAL program, the whole team. It's a great program. I hope to get there another Tuesday. I hope the community gets to see it. But thanks to Chief, all you're doing, your leadership team, and all that our men and women are doing. And don't practice too much before the next game. Thank you. Anything else, counselors?
National Night Out?
National Night Out, August 6th.
August 6th.
Be
We'd like
there.
everybody to be there. Nash, it's a Tuesday night, first Tuesday in
Yes,
August.
first Tuesday in August, yeah.
If there's no other questions, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move on.
Appreciate it.
Item C, we have no hearings tonight. Item D, public comment. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Barbara Rue. I live at 79 Main Street, but I have roots at 956 Cloverdale Circle. There was a Facebook notice that came up in early June, and it made me a little sad. It talked about that the town council was going to go into session again, live. My dad was really looking forward to that. For 59 years, he came and harassed this council. Some of you were spared that. As I watched from the Cape what went on here last month, I was really sad. And I thought about what my dad would say. My dad, who at 18 went to Germany in World War II, walked through a concentration camp, did his basic training in Fort Shelby, Mississippi, at the height of Jim Crow. And he talked about how those days changed his life forever. So this is what I think he would have said about the flag policy. A pox on both your houses. I went to Europe and I fought for the Stars and Stripes. I didn't fight for others' flags. And that's the flag that we are known for all over the world. And that's the flag that we should hang. We have managed to create I can't even say the word, divisiveness. We are many people, we speak many languages, we come from many backgrounds. What unites us is the Stars and Stripes. So I'm not going to die on this hill, but I want you to know what my dad would have said to you. And he would have said it just that way. So I hope that we can get through this and we can figure out what's really important, not making fun of people or threatening people, but the flag that unites us is the Stars and Stripes. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Oh, I should mention, it was suggested that I knit a flag, but I read the flag policy and the flag can't have holes in it, and knitting has holes.
Thank you, Barbara. Further public comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Joseph Skelly, 50 Summerfield Drive, Wethersfield. I know some of the Democrats spoke after the last meeting, public comment session, but the thin blue line issue is probably going to surface again. I know one of the speakers last time said that she was hoping that for, I think, next May to have the flag flown twice, but I think what you folks need to realize is what I said at the last meeting. The thin blue line concept was developed in the 1950s. It was actually created by Los Angeles Police Department Chief William H. Harper. And I think in the 70s, former police officer Joseph Wambaugh wrote a book about the thin blue line. And in 1988, there was a documentary by a person named Errol Morris entitled The Thin Blue Line. So the thin blue line has been around for 70 years, long before Black Lives Matter concept was developed. So I think you need to remember that when a request will come to the council again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Further public comment? Robin?
Robin Barassa, 248 Dale Road. First of all, I was really pleased to see all the police officers. I really was. The promotions and the new hires, that actually is giving me comfort. I know crime is down, according to the chief, but minimally. So I'm happy, and I congratulate and appreciate that people are still going in law enforcement. At the last meeting that many of us here spoke at, it was quite a meeting. I think we all walked away shell-shocked. The previous weeks of going up to that meeting were, I can't even describe it. That being said, I appreciate the democratic process, bad, good, and ugly. I think we all do. I think we're really fortunate to live in this country to be able to speak freely. I also appreciated in council comments at the end of the meeting, Mayor Lesser, you did mention publicly that you were going to, you maybe representing the council, were going to revisit the flag policy going forward. Was a little dismayed not to see it on the agenda, but I also understand there's a lot to get at every meeting. That being said, I'm pretty sure you're a man of your word, and I'm hoping going forward that is going to be on the agenda for public discussion going forward. I think we all saw the dissension and frustration and anger that this flag policy has created. Many of us saw this coming, and I don't think we ever saw that it was going to get to that point. So I hope that will be a public discussion. I don't know how items get on agendas. I think we talk to council members and we ask them, and the council goes to the mayor and the town manager. I'm guessing that's the process, and I hope that, again, I reiterate, I hope that's something that you're going to revisit in the next few meetings, sincerely. I don't think the flag policy is working at all. I think it needs to revert back to what it was originally. Also, the other thought I had driving around town was, and I'm curious, and obviously no one can answer this, but I'd like to know how many council members have signs on their lawn supporting the law enforcement community. Obviously, the thin blue line symbol triggers some people on this council, but there are many generic police support signs, and I've seen them around town. Given the fact that council members had law enforcement protecting them, I'd like to think that maybe you guys will consider putting law enforcement support signs on your lawns. I'm pretty certain if you asked any police officer off the record, without fear of retribution, if they like driving around town while they're on patrol, seeing those signs on people's front lawns, I think they will 100% tell you they do. And I think they're feeling the love and support in our town, and I'd like to see our elected officials publicly support them too as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Further, Mr. Woodward and Cindy. Cindy, I saw you after Bob, and then Cindy.
Bob Woodward, 456 Middletown Avenue here in Wethersfield. 3 things from the last meeting. First of all, there was a letter in the rare reminder. It was just about impossible to hear you, Mayor Lesser, as you called names. The police graciously seated me right by the clerk's office. I could not hear you from the hallway nor from back here, and I'm not complaining so much as please check the sound system and the mics. It might be helpful in the future. Secondly, when I left the meeting, a woman walked out with me. She'd been here because you were going to vote for a chiller for the police station. She said, the school system needs that. And my biggest question was why it was a woman who was a grandmother and not someone from the leadership from the schools. I keep hammering on that, but that's important. The last thing I would bring up is someone who spoke at the last meeting very graciously mentioned my name and my request, my suggestion to fly the United Nations flag in October, and then complained that you had amended the flag policy for that, but couldn't amend it for the thin blue line. I'm not here to discuss that. I did not intend my suggestion to cause contention, and at this point, I would like to withdraw my suggestion of flying the United Nations flag. I'm very grateful that you did consider it, and I thank you for that, but maybe there will be another time in God's grace that it will be brought up, but thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Further, Cindy?
Good evening, Cindy Zerblis, 119 Rod Highway. I'm here again to talk about the behavior of some of the council members. At our last meeting, Mr. Durek basically told us he wasn't going to apologize for his behavior and for insulting a fellow council member online. Basically, I don't care what policy Mr. Durek is standing by. His behavior online was horrid. And I don't understand how any of you could think that it was okay that a council member publicly insult and ridicule another council member. I just want to give a quote from a social media post to Councilman Bailey and the group of people who intentionally use this very sad, tragic moment to gain political points. I will not forgive you until you publicly apologize and admit what you did was wrong. Again, you heard from 3 council members that were in support of the flag and numerous residents what flying the flag meant to all of us. Mr. Durek, you're not going to get an apology from any of us because we did not use Trooper Pelletier's death to gain political points. Many of us stood up here as first responder families, and you are not one of us. So again, you have no clue what it means to have your loved one walk out the door and not know if they're coming back. Your words on that post were horrible and unforgivable. I will also point out to you, if anyone used this situation to gain political points, it was you. You sat up here at the last meeting, basically stating to residents in this community that residents in this community were unkind to you and other members of your community. You then stated how you did us all a favor by never going to the news and resolved it within the community. It was that statement that really bothered me that night. It made me realize you clearly didn't hear me in the past when I've gotten up and spoke at previous meetings when I told a story about being picked on when I was younger because I was Sicilian. As I said that night, it happens to all kids in all sorts of communities. Kids are mean. It doesn't matter where the kid comes from, what they look like, what language they speak, what disability they have. Any kid can be the subject of bullying. My kid was one of the biggest kids in Wethersfield High and was brutally picked on. So please stop telling that story. It's just not accurate. Also, when you spoke about your time being held in a concentration camp, you spoke about people with their hate speech where you came from. What do you think your post on social media was? It was hate speech in my eyes. As far as Ms. Zimbardello, I wish she was here, but frankly, I found her apology at the last meeting forced, rehearsed, and lacking empathy. Honestly, at the end of the day, she's not here representing our community. She's an activist. An activist is defined as a person who campaigns for political and societal change. They are provokers, and that is exactly what she did. She caused chaos in this town during this time. A good politician does not have the traits of an activist. A good politician requires the willingness to engage, compromise, and make deals with both sides. Ms. Zambrdello cannot be both of those and represent our community. It is not fair to the residents, and she's not representing, and clearly it appears that she doesn't care to represent certain groups in this town. I encourage the council to ask these members to step down for the better of the community and to help this community to heal. We are already not healing because it's clear that the flag policy is not a priority as it was promised it would be at the last meeting because it's not on the agenda tonight for discussion. I was very disappointed to see that. Finally, it really bothered me when the council members who caused all the chaos acted like victims. Again, I'm going to talk about this, when really it was their party who are the real bullies in this town. As I said at the last meeting, it was the town residents threatening me as a private citizen because I put up a survey online to gauge the thoughts of the residents on the flag issue. The night of the council meeting, I came to share my thoughts on the issue and was attacked unnecessarily by an individual that was sitting in front of me, an individual who's a town committee member, a Democratic town committee member, that from what I was told. That person actually stuck a finger in my face and yelled at me when I did nothing wrong. I proceeded to watch that same gentleman harass two women that were sitting next to me throughout the entire meeting. This man was unhinged because two women were whispering, and might I add, I was not the one whispering. The online stalking inboxes sent to me by some members of the Democratic Town Committee are appalling. I realize I can be vocal with some issues online and on this podium, but you know what? It's my First Amendment right to do that. But I don't call people names, and I don't threaten people. I cannot tell you how many times I've been called names and threatened because I might not agree with them, sending inbox messages because they don't want other people to see who they really are.
Cindy, you have 5 minutes, so I'm going to ask you to please summarize.
1 second. One gentleman and his wife caused all the drama in this town during the police shooting, harassed me so much that I had to tell him I was going to call the police on him. Recently, my LinkedIn account was looked at by a member of the Democratic Town Committee. Should I assume this person is the one that was threatening my job online? I have screenshots of one of your members calling me a piece of garbage.
Cindy, thank you. You can come back and speak in a second.
I just want people to know in this town that the Democratic Town Committee is not what it was, and they're not nice people.
Thank you, Cindy. Further public comment?
Yeah, I do.
Robert? Mr. Hey, everybody. Hey, I'm going to ask everyone. All right, everyone. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. Last meeting was horrible. We lost tremendous efforts that had been put into building up this town due to that meeting last time. Your flag policy is not a function of doing business and running this town. Your flag policy is a social issue. Doesn't belong in here. It belongs in some committee off down in the basement of this building. Doesn't belong in here, and we should not be wasting our time talking about it. We've wasted enough time. Next. At the June 3rd, 2024 Town Council meeting, the first person to speak during the first public comment section recited and made commentary about other people's postings on the Wethersfield Board of Education website regarding conditions at the elementary schools in Wethersfield. Using other people's written statements taken from the recent Wethersfield Community Survey on the future of our elementary schools buildings, unquote, and created commentary of the terrible conditions at our elementary schools in Wethersfield, such as leaking roofs, stench of mold and mildew, mice infestation, high number of students per classrooms, health and safety issues, poor repair and fixes to our buildings, and issues involving faulty air and heating conditions, and the lack of properly regulate and control the output of heat and cooling to coincide with the seasons. This person went on to highlight that work orders are ignored and dismissed, and the town does not do a good job on maintenance, and how much our children are suffering and not getting the education they deserve. This person went on with more. Then went on to promote the need to pass an unscheduled and not yet priced school referendum in order to protect our children's staff and property values. From that, I contacted the town manager with a Freedom of Information request regarding the issues the speaker cited in hopes to understand why Wethersfield schools are so terrible due to poor classroom conditions and preventing our students from succeeding in their studies. Additionally, I want to know if Wethersfield staff was in charge for the care of these issues and/or repairs, or does Wethersfield use outside vendors, and whom? Town manager provided the Wethersfield annual maintenance and service roofing contract for the period of August 31st, 2023 through August 31st, 2024 with Weatherproofing Technology, Inc., that's WTI, at the annual cost of $79,886 for the town's approximate 712,569 square feet of roofing on approximately 133 roof sections. Wethersfield has for a long time relied on and continues to hire reliable service and maintenance roofing contractors to monitor and be on call to perform all our immediate roofing needs. With the roofing and maintenance service contract in place, we should feel confident that our 712,569 square feet of roofing are undisputably in great shape and don't leak. The town manager also provided an annual service agreement by town buildings for pest and rodent control with Ed Lavery and Sons of Rocky Hill. This includes all town and school buildings and electrical generator sites, such as the town hall, town garage, the ambulance building, Pickens Center, the Nature Center, police station,
Mr. Young,
all
time
the
is up.
school
I'm going to ask you to
buildings,
summarize, please, Mr. Young.
Kellenor Court and Callahan Tower, which are generating, or I guess there's generators there. The town spends approximately $11,143
Mr. Young.
annually.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Young.
you really want to know what's going on, don't you? Because you don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you, sir.
There's 5 minutes, as you know, at the end for more public comment. Further public comment tonight? Anyone? Yes.
Steve Bobbin, 83 Longview Drive. I like to apologize. I got overreacted. I couldn't hear. I come to all the meetings.
I can't hear either.
Exactly. I didn't expect it to be a mob scene, but I can't hear. The woman asked somebody to be quiet. People kept talking.
Steve, I'm going to ask you to address the council.
I could not hear what was going on. I overreacted. I apologize. I like to respond to the flag policy. I went Tuesday night to the flag raising for the Bosnian genocide. It was a moving event. There are people that live here that, besides our council member, that went through this. There was a gentleman that his entire family was killed. There was multiple gentlemen that expressed what happened to them. It was just spectacular. There was the community turned out. There was, I don't know, hundreds of people there, and it was moving. There was little kids, there was old people. It was a spectacular thing, and I hope that we keep the policy that allows members of the community to celebrate or remember, in this case, what happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Further, Christine, did you have your hand up? Christine?
Christine Kelly Lasella, 37 Belmont Street. just want to encourage all of you, don't sweep this stuff under the rug. I read the agenda last week. I was away, or Friday when it came out. I didn't see anything about the flag policy. I mean, we can go on and on and on. I'm not saying the Bosnian flag, what was just said, that was a bad idea. But just like the Bosnian community, the law enforcement community would have loved to have stand proudly for Officer Pelletier and other officers. I don't want to beat this to death, but I get it. But if it's not going to work, you guys have to look at this policy and you have to come up with something. Don't sweep it under the rug. I read an article in the Rear Reminder. I couldn't find it. It was after the meeting in June. It's been a month. And the Rear Reminder article is very one-sided. There was a lot of facts missing. The policy kept being repeated. We couldn't raise the thin blue line flag because of policy. But everybody that's here, that was at that meeting, and that is here now, knows that's not true because you bent the policy for the UN flag, which I stated to you may or may not come with some iffy connotations attached to it as well. I don't agree or disagree. So therefore, I'm just asking, like I said, have a PIO. The police department has one. The Rear Reminder article never mentioned the UN flag. It said the council could not fly the thin blue line flag or talk about it because of the policy, but they didn't talk about that it actually did. I brought you the dates and everything. So I just want to encourage you guys. The last meeting a month ago was a lot of emotions and a lot of heated everything, but you know, this is my town too, and I love it, and I'll stand up every time. Just don't sweep it under the rug. I feel like things get talked about, and there's so many other things. You gotta attack it, figure it out, and move forward, hopefully. So, that was all.
Thank you, Christine. Further public comment? Martha?
Martha Keneally, 12 Fairmont Street. I'm actually here to talk about the school RFP, but I do want to make a comment regarding, I wanted to actually mention the events of this week, the despicable assassination and attempt against former President Trump, and the murder of the innocent bystander in the crowd. When I thought about it, I actually was reflecting on what Councilor Durick shared with us, that the exact language and the vile racism and bigotry and the threats of rape and death and the disgusting reaction to this issue that many councilors here endured, and that it's exactly that kind of hate speech, that provokes, that is the beginning of the end for our democracy, that is the path down the road. Political violence is no answer to our disputes. I will work very hard to defeat former President Trump, but I would never, we cannot allow for us to descend into political violence. And we need to be unified in decrying that. Not just when it's somebody who is on your side, but whatever. It's just not okay. It's just not okay. And I really appreciated you sharing that very personal story, and of the real lesson that you were taught about how tyranny emerges in our society, and that it, in the same way that we can't defeat what we consider, that's not an answer on any level of our government. That's not an answer for any level of our government. It was not okay in the attempted assassination of the former president. It was not okay here in Wethersfield. It was not okay in Bosnia. It's just not okay. We have to resolve our differences civilly. with conversation. Which leads me to the amazing opportunity we have for our community to do something that is good for everyone in our community, which I will switch gears and talk about the schools, because it is an issue that that is important to all of us. It's an issue that impacts the property, all of our property values, our children, the reputation of our community. I feel like it's a little trite to go into this right now, and so maybe I'm just going to pause and I will come back, but I just want to say I support passing the RFP and hope you'll consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Further public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move on with the agenda to item E, council reports. Does any councilor have a report this evening? Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Thanks. I'd like to talk about energy, if you would, for just a sec. Change it up a little bit. We have a resiliency committee which talks about sort of big ideas and big things about transforming our town for the better. And we recently got a report back from our consultants, and it's a discussion point on a path forward on how we can transform a lot of our buildings to be extremely more efficient. We could become more energy independent by having large-scale solar, especially over places that, like our parking lots, that could do both things. They could park cars and they can create energy. And this will help us reduce our costs and our spending, especially in the electricity field, and it will allow us to be part of the transformation over into equipment that is more efficient, more effective, and of course will reduce a lot of the costs that we have on our expenditure side as it relates to energy, whether it's gas, fuel, diesel, etc. So we're working through a few of those options that we have on the table. We'll be looking to probably, in those conversations, are also our grant writer, Vada, and she'll be looking and seeking large sums of money to be distributed, hopefully here, or even medium sums of money, but whatever it is, to improve our town in the area of energy, independence, and hopefully reducing some of our spending so that we can use those dollars toward other things that we think are also important. So it's a good step forward. We'll be working with the town manager and our consultant, NV5, to put forward RFPs, hopefully bring it before this council in the next, hopefully, couple council meetings, and we'll see where it takes it from there. But I want to give you guys, start to give everyone here a heads up on that might be coming, and that it's very positive steps forward for our town.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Further council reports. Councilor Rhodes.
Good evening. I'm just reporting back on the community conversations that are happening around the anxious generation that the school district and the library and WEC have been collaborating around. I spoke with Kim Bobbin from WEC just a couple days ago, and she shared that the first conversation that was last week, that was both offered in person and hybrid, had just an amazing turnout for a conversation like that in the middle of July. They had a tremendous turnout, lots of really good conversations. There was another one held tonight. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there. But I'm looking forward to hearing more from people about those. And if you haven't had the chance to read the book or to be a part of those conversations, there are a couple more coming up. It is really important. It's something that impacts on all of us, children and adults alike. So again, it's called The Anxious Generation, and you can check out it's on Facebook, the posts about the meetings, and on the, Bobby, is it on the website? It's on the Board of Ed website. The Board of Ed website. Yep. Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes. I have that on my list too, so I'll mention that briefly in a few minutes. Any other council reports? Councilor Durk.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to quickly report that as a businessman, I love attending those EDIC meetings. Those are very fun, and they usually have a lot of good news. So I want to just thank our town manager, EDIC committee. I want to thank everybody involved in bringing more businesses in. I think we are getting a lot of new businesses, a lot of people interested into coming to Wethersfield. There's a lot more to be done. There are a lot more buildings that we can hopefully
make much nicer in the near future, but I'm seeing a lot of great work, and I can already see it just driving down. I can see all these new businesses coming in, so I think that's great for Wethersfield for so many reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durick. Any other council reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to item F, councilor comments. Any councilor have any comments this evening? See none, I have sorry, Councilor Carbone.
Since nobody's going to go, I'll go. I actually have a few council comments. First of all, it's really hot outside, right? 95 degrees. Please, I know this is a little PSA, but try to stay indoors if you can during the heat of the day and don't overexert yourself. A couple things, if you cannot afford your electricity to get your air conditioning, please reach out to social services. We can make an appointment for you to fill out an application to get some energy assistance. And that doesn't just happen in the winter, it's also in the summer as well, where people can't afford their electric bills. Check on our elderly neighbors if you wouldn't mind, because as we know, some of them still like to bundle up in the summer, and they don't realize how hot they can be getting, and it can be dangerous for them. So if you have any elderly neighbors, that would be warranted during this crazy heat we're having. So that's part of it. The other thing is we've been losing workers and DOT people on our roads. So other than police officers, it's just there's been 165 deaths on our roads so far this year. And I know we're all seeing it now when people are traveling to and from the shore and they're doing their activities. Slow down for work zones. I feel we're all very distracted. And you see these people on their phones, they're sending emails, they're texting, they're doing whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous, and every day I'm sure we all see it. People crossing the line. We had an experience yesterday. It makes me insane. So just slow down. Don't be distracted. Let's try to save some lives. So I'm done lecturing on that. So I'm going to move on to the next thing. It's just, right. So there was something I asked the town manager to talk about, and we can talk about it now, or we can talk about it during your report, but essentially the Wethersfield Housing Authority had sent forth a letter to some of our neighbors talking about the Harvey Fuller expansion for affordable housing. And it was very vague, and although they offered some, give us a call, we have some hours, people had a lot of questions. So I did reach out to the town manager. He was nice enough to answer these questions, and I asked him to discuss those today. And it's questions, was it going to be senior housing, or was it going to be families involved? How is it going to impact our fields? Is it going to impact our taxes? Is it going to planning zoning? Is there going to be a public hearing? Stuff like that. So I don't know if you want to talk about it now, or do you want to wait? It's up to you.
Either way is fine with me. I'll touch on it briefly. It's very conceptual at this point, number one, and the idea of reaching out to the residents in the immediate vicinity is to get them in right away to start to get their feedback. We made it clear this was something that was proposed to us by the Housing Authority, an idea that they had. For those of you that don't know, we're required by the state to have an affordable housing plan, which we're currently working on, and as part of that, we're also required to reach a level of 10% affordability for the town. We are not at that 10%, and it's something that every town's going to be required to get to. We're close, but we're not there.
Where are we, if you don't?
We're in the 9% range. So we're actually working with the Housing Authority. We've met with the new executive director a few times about ways that we can expand what they have, and one of the ideas that came up was expanding Harvey Fuller. We do have athletic fields directly adjacent to that, and they wouldn't need very much of it to expand their footprint and do additional units for seniors. But any project like that would have many steps. First, they would have to get the funding from CDBG, the Housing and Urban Development Department for the U.S. government is generally where they would get the funds for that. We would need to sign on as part of the property, owning part of the property. The council would have to agree to give them the portion that they need to complete the project. It would not impact the fields themselves out there, as currently proposed in the concept plan. It will also expand actually the parking for that field, because as part of this, they would expand parking, and they would
But
allow.
it's still going to, they're still going to have a public hearing.
So they
they're
still would
gonna
have
go
to,
planning.
you all would have to have a public hearing, the planning, it would have to go to planning and zoning just to transfer the property, and then the project itself would have to go through public hearings at planning and zoning.
Right.
And the Housing Authority has promised to do numerous outreach efforts beyond this initial engagement. So it's still very conceptual, a lot of steps to go, but I think ultimately it could be a very positive project for the community, but we'll see how it all plays out and where it goes.
I just love when they send out vague information and make everybody get spun up. So thank you for doing it.
Sure.
I appreciate that. So the next thing I wanted to ask, and actually I'll direct this to you also, the town manager, is I kind of wanted to discuss, I wanted to bring up the ceremonies that are being held for the flags that are being hung. So I believe there was a ceremony hung for the Bosnian genocide flag. Is there going to be a ceremony for every flag that's hung?
I would say no, not for every flag that's hung. It really depends on the purpose around it and what the tradition is around it. And that's something that we discuss as staff and see what's possible and what we can do. So certainly not for every flag that's hung.
Yeah, because it's not in the policy. It mentions nothing about a ceremony, how it's supposed to be hung. So I'm just curious, are there taxpayer dollars funding people to work at these ceremonies, to stay after, to provide support?
Certainly could involve staying after depending on the time of the event. Like we have several events that happen outside of work hours, so we do pay staff to work those events. But it's, like I said, we do more events in Wethersfield than any community I've ever been in, and we support those with staffing. So if they're not during business hours, yes, there'll be additional overtime money that is spent, but it's overtime money that is already built into the budget. So it's all within the confines of the budget that's approved by this council. We can't go outside of that.
You can't go outside of that?
Correct.
Okay. So essentially, and the flag policy actually has come up a few times already tonight. So you have a flag policy in place where you're picking winners and losers on flags, and then now certain individuals get to pick whether there's a ceremony associated with the flag or not. Correct?
Well, no, I mean, again, it really depends on the event and what the request is. We get requests from organizations all the time about assisting with events and assisting in doing things. And again, if it's something that benefits our community, we will.
I know, I'm just trying to be clear, right?
So there's no picking winners and losers. It's something that this was a flag that was approved by this council, and there's certain traditions that go along with that, and we follow those, and we staffed it appropriately to make sure that everything was covered.
Again, there were some questions, and I want to make sure, because I hate this policy, and I want to make sure all our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. So there's nothing in the policy about having a ceremony. So when the firefighter flag there was no ceremony.
Correct.
Was there a ceremony when the Juneteenth flag was flown?
There was not.
No. So and it's because no one requested it?
Correct.
Okay. So if I request a flag, I then have to take it a step further and request a ceremony to be presented when I hang that flag.
Again, if it's something that would be traditionally associated with that flag, or if what that flag represents, we would consider it. And if it was something that benefited the community, yes, we would do something. Like I said, we work on events across the community all the time, and they're not just town events.
Okay. All right. So again, who gets invited to these events?
Depends on the event. I don't know.
So council members, because I didn't get an invitation to to that event, and it wasn't mentioned on the management report. So how would anybody in the community know to go to this event?
Most events that are done by different community organizations, they take care of the advertising and the invites. We don't deal with that part of it. We just support it in our role.
And your role is just to provide chairs, pick up, clean up, that stuff?
Things that we normally do for events, sound equipment, chairs, cleanup, yes.
All right, thank you. It just was confusing, and don't know if when you amend your flag policy, if you want to mention something about ceremonies. All right, so I think that's it for my council comments. Thank you. It was more of a lot of council questions, but I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Anybody else? I have a few, but did you also have your hand up? No.
Yeah, but I saw Rich too.
Councilor Bailey, and then I have Councilor Dirk. Rich, go ahead.
Well, I think it just leads to a problem. You can't pick and choose now. We've said yes to one, we say yes to them all, and I'm fine with it. But we just said yes to one, you got to say yes to all now. And I think that who decides what's more important than the other? You know, Mickey feels his flag is more important than, we'll say, the Irish flag. But the Irish want to have a ceremony. How do you tell them no? You know, that's where I think we've opened up a door with this that didn't need to be open.
Well, I think the ceremonies, they would have to take place on town property, and that's where we get involved, because we have a liability issue.
Yeah, but who are you or us to decide which flag is more important?
Well, as the town manager, I'm responsible for all the properties in this town and the employees of this town, and where people are assigned to what. So that is my role. That's the powers and duties per the charter of a town manager. So if there is an event that's going to be taking place on town property, it's my responsibility to make sure that it goes off without any issues, that it's safe, and that people are provided for.
But
And
who
that's all.
decides on you're saying you're going to decide on the event and how it's going to be? You know, that's where I think there's just a lot of hypocrisy there. You know, if the Irish or I don't even know how many more flags are coming, but if they all want to have ceremonies, how do you pick and choose?
Again, if they wanted to do a ceremony at the flagpole, we would support that. Because it's been a flag, if it was a flag that was approved by the council, then we would support a ceremony if that's what they wanted to do.
Councilor Bailey, you good? Further council comments? Councilor Durek.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't going to mention this tonight, but I'm just going to briefly say something about some of my reactions, some of the hate speech that I called and all of that. I don't share my story almost ever, and I try not to. Some of my reactions come from my experience. We all have different experience. And I just want to point out that all the atrocities that happened in Bosnia started with hate speech and division. And that's the last thing I want to see here. I don't want to take sides. I don't want to take sides between Republicans and Democrats. I want to take a side of Wethersfield. I want to be able to talk to all of my neighbors. I don't care who they are, what they do. I want to be safe. I want everybody to feel safe around me. And that's why I react sometimes the way I do. And we can go into different events and different things that happened recently, and it's just causing more and more division and more hate. If things go out of hand, we are all going to lose. No, there is no winner when things go out of hand. And I pray that never happens, and I mentioned that during the event on July 11th. We all need to be neighbors. We all need to feel safe. If anybody starts feeling unsafe in our town, we're all going to pay the price one way or the other. I lived through it. I did not complain about things that happened to me after those meetings and all the threats that I received, because I can handle it. But if anybody starts feeling unsafe, things are going to get bad and ugly quickly, and that's not what I want to see here in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durek. Further council comments? Councilor Rhodes.
So many people referred to the last couple of meetings as traumatic, as difficult, as challenging, as out of control, and those things were all true. Moving forward, we have to be listening to each other. One of the ways that we most effectively listen to each other is by assuming positive intent. I assume positive intent from every single person who gets up at that podium and speaks. I assume they are coming from a place of authenticity, of belief, of truly feeling strongly about what they're speaking about. I, speaking for myself and on behalf of my fellow councilors, if I may do so, would hope that you all would assume positive intent from us as well. We're doing the best we can. We're not going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to revisit those mistakes. That's what we do because we're human. And so it would do a lot to cool things down if people could assume positive intent. Both sides can let go of the name calling and the assumptions of negative intent, right? We're doing the best we can, as you all are. You're all doing the best you can, and so are we. So I want to just put that out there. And as Mickey said, we have to cool things down because it's not okay. It's not okay. We're going the wrong direction. There's great things happening in town. I went to live music in Old Wethersfield on Friday and Saturday night. Old Wethersfield on Friday night and Keisha Farms on Saturday night. It was incredible. It was so fun, and people were joyful and having a great time. There are amazing things happening in this town, and we're spending a lot of time talking about the things that are not going well. And there's a lot more things that are going well. So I'm hoping that as we go forward into future meetings, we can put our attention on those things that are going well. And looking forward, and let some of this stuff, let's move it along. Let's just move it along and start to talk to each other again like we're human. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes. Further council comment? Deputy Mayor Forrest.
I'd like to talk about something positive. I was hoping to talk about baseball. Our Little League teams are awesome. And just wanted to tell the council that, so after you finish the regular season, you go into this sort of like all-star tournament for the 12 kids that are 12 years old and younger. It ends in Williamsport. It's kind of a annual American thing, but it's really a world thing because they really do bring in teams from all around the world. And our team went through the district undefeated. That means they defeated West Hartford and Newington and two Glastonbury teams, Rocky Hill and Cromwell. Now, they didn't quite win the district in the final playoffs. It's a one-game elimination. And the Wethersfield Little League 10U team also beat all those teams. They went undefeated in pool play, they call it, and then ended up losing in the championship. But both teams were very successful and incredibly good. And they gave all of their spectators, all Wethersfield people, a real fun ride over the summer. And they're just one step away from making it to the next level, which is sectionals and state, and then maybe even further than that to make our town proud. But I want to give congratulations to both of those teams who did a fantastic job. Wethersfield baseball is usually sort of in the middle of the pack, but this year we were right at the top going for the championship of our district. So I just want to say congratulations to all of them, and just also add the wonderful things that are happening over the last couple weeks in this town. And it was all going down at Costello Field. And the mayor, which is great, and the mayor even joined us. He was up in the booth, he watched the whole game, and along with all kinds of other supporters. So Wethersfield's doing very well in baseball this summer.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Further council comments? I have a few. I did go to that game, and we are proud of our sports teams, baseball and others, and that was a good performance. First, I want to mention the flag policy briefly. We are planning to bring it up at a future agenda. There's not an event that I go to in town where someone doesn't come up to me, and it's usually more than one, with suggestions, with ideas about what we should do about the flag policy. And I'm listening, we're collecting more information, but we are going to bring the policy back for review, hopefully in August, but certainly soon, and I know people asked about that tonight. In terms of, I like to do events that have recently happened and events that are coming up to let everybody know what's going on. So this past Thursday, the Chamber of Commerce sponsored a business after hours at Soar My Way. It was very well attended. I enjoyed it. The food is great. I suggest you all go there. This past Saturday, we had the Art Walk. Our Wethersfield artists and surrounding town artists that were participating are fantastic. It was the second annual Wethersfield Art Walk put on by the Wethersfield shopkeepers, old Wethersfield shopkeepers, and they did a great job. It was fun to go. I hope you all can go next year. And Councilor Rhodes already mentioned this, but I want to highlight it a little bit more. I attended the event on Thursday night, the book discussion on The Anxious Generation. This book is about the rewiring of our kids' childhood and how our kids' childhood has now been rewired by the telephone. And the theme of the book is that this, social media and the iPhone, is causing a mental health crisis in the United States. And as Councilor Rhodes pointed out, there was a tremendous turnout both in person, we were actually in 3 rooms, and online. So it tells you how much people care about this issue and how people feel it's important, and people want to do something about it. And we talked about strategies. There are 2 more. There's one tonight, which obviously we're all here and you're all here, but there's 2 more coming up, and I hope many of you can go to that. So really important happening book club discussion. 3 upcoming events I want to mention. Tomorrow night, the Keeney Cooler Concerts has been moved indoors. So if you're looking for some good music, it's usually outside. It is inside tomorrow night at Keeney. Keisha Farms Concerts has been a series of 3. The last one is coming up this Saturday night. the 20th from 6 to 8 at the Keisha Barn. The chief mentioned this, but I want to highlight it again for our counselors and the public. National Night Out, which is a national event, the first Tuesday for all law enforcement, police officers, is Tuesday, August 6th. I encourage all counselors and anybody from the community to make it. It's a wonderful event. I'm looking forward to myself. And then lastly, on August 7th through August 17th, we are fortunate enough in town to have a local Shakespearean theater that provide free Shakespeare plays every summer. And this summer's play is Midsummer's Night Dream. It is August 7th to 17th. There's multiple days in that 10-day window. I hope you can all go and support the local company, Time is Fool Company, that puts it on. That is all I have for council comments. I'm going to move on to item G, Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Just a couple of items. Councilor Carbone brought up the fact of the heat and the weather we've been having here. For those of you that do need it out there with respect to any kind of cooling centers, you have to get away if you don't have air conditioning in your house. That during their regular hours, the library is open. People are welcome to go in there and utilize that. I know the numbers have been up in the library and the community center. Both of those facilities are available for folks, and if they need additional help, they can always dial 211 as well for additional help with that, because this can be very dangerous, and the weather's only going to get worse over the next few days. And the storms too, when people lose power, especially even if you do have air conditioning, when we get these freak storms that pop up. I know we had a lot of trees down recently, so just if you need the assistance, please reach out to us and we'll do what we can to help. Some of the positive things we talked about, we've received a lot of grants over the last few months, last year or so. We're working on projects in Mill Woods for several of the elements within Mill Woods Park, and we're going to hear about a master plan coming up. Spring Street Dam and the park there, we're working on a project there. Those two projects total well over $2 million. But I also want to focus on a couple that we're doing that are really joint projects with other communities and organizations around. We've spoken about our trail project between Hartford's last Riverfront Park and our trailhead that now goes over the bridge on Route 3. We're doing that with the City of Hartford and Riverfront Recapture, and we got the grant from DEEP to do that project. That's moving forward in the planning stages now. We've got a trail equipment grant that we combined with through CROG, several different communities that as we build these trails, now we have to maintain them, and a lot of towns don't have the specialized equipment needed to do that, and we were successful through CROG to get a grant of over $300,000 to purchase equipment just for maintaining trails that we'll share between the other communities, because we don't all need them all the time. And then finally, there's the projects that you've heard about on the Silas Dean, where we're doing a major safety improvement project all along for all the intersections on the Silas Dean, traffic calming. We're in the planning stages of that. It's a federal grant that we're finally getting contracted out, and that's with Rocky Hill, and we're going to be able to get that project rolling forward. And we got another one through CROG for the same type of project for the Berlin Turnpike, and that's with Newington, Berlin, and Wethersfield. So these are all very exciting. That's the way you have to do those projects on those major roadways. You have to work together, and I want to thank CROG for all their assistance in helping us achieve a lot of those grants, but also that these are going to be real game changers for us here in Wethersfield. As you heard from the chief, most of our accidents, Silas Dean, Berlin Turnpike, and these projects are going to directly impact those roads. So I just want to speak to the great work of our staff, Vlada in capital improvements. Joya has been heavily involved with a lot of this stuff, and Derek in engineering. All of them have been intimately involved in getting these grants with CROG, and it's going to make a huge difference. So that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Lots of good things happening, lots of positive things. Sue, Town Clerk, report.
I just want to let everybody know
Can you pull your mic down, Sue?
we are still steadily issuing dog licenses. We've issued 1,634 so far, which is up quite a bit from last year, and they're steadily coming in. So I think we'll hit probably 2,100 by May, which is the most we've done in 20 years. So it's a lot.
Thank you, Sue. Moving on, we have item I, bids. We have none. Item J, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, I would ask that we remove the list of appointments from boards and commissions from the consent agenda. Can you order that, please?
So ordered.
Okay.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
And I move the remainder of the consent agenda for approval.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Durek. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I move the remaining item on the consent agenda, the appointments for boards and commissions, in its entirety with the following exceptions. Paul Brady, 16 Church Street, Doug Ovian, 56 Broad Street, Peter Benson, 31 Middletown Avenue, and Chris Breslin, 27 Somerset Street, which I'm asking that the council, or that I'm moving, that the council take up in an individual basis after this motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Deputy Mayor, any discussion?
No?
If there's no discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Further, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the appointment of Paul Brady, 16 Church Street, to the Wethersfield Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities for the term of 7/15/24 to 6/30/2026.
Do I have a second?
Wait, 1 second. I'm sorry, you said Paul Brady to the, I thought he was going for the Building Appeals Board.
It says here, to the Wethersfield Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities.
And he's on that now, Counselor Carbone. I think it's
On that one.
His name is also on the first page.
He's also on the
first page. Oh,
of that,
so-
And you just had to pull his name, so
Okay.
you didn't specify, so it'd be.
So, well, fair enough. Well, I am moving to appoint him to that particular committee, and then
Wait,
we'll take
can
up
we
the
be
next.
more specific? What are we doing? I'm sorry, your first
I move
mention?
to appoint Paul Brady, 16 Church Street, to the Wethersfield Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities for the term of 7/15/24 to 6/30/2026.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Rhodes. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I'll be fair. I'm moving to approve the appointment of Paul Brady, 16 Church Street, to the Board of Building Appeals for the term of 7/15/2024 to 6/30/2029.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Clancy. Any discussion? Counselor Carbone.
So you can be on to the commissions, to the boards, anytime? Yes? Okay. That's just quick to clarify that. So I'm questioning Paul Brady's qualifications. Does anybody have any information about those? What his experience in building is? Does he have an experience in building design, building construction, or supervising building construction? That's a question, actually. No. Okay, so apparently, one of the members, right, can be from the general public, but there's already somebody from the general public on the commission, right, on the board. So this particular gentleman has to have some kind of building experience, and apparently, I'm not sure he has any. Apparently, he is a legislative aide who works for the State Election Enforcement Commission, has nothing to do with construction. No? Yes?
Saying that he
Maybe?
doesn't have any-
That I'm aware of. I'm asking. I would love some input, or nobody knows? Okay.
I don't have a list of his qualifications here. We
You wanna
aren't
table
prepared
that, maybe?
to answer that. Typically,
find
our
out?
appointments go through, I've been on for years, we usually don't have, but obviously, you have the right, and you've brought up a...
And you have the right to vote him in regardless,
Yeah,
too, so, yeah.
no, and you brought up, I don't know. You have the floor, Counselor Carbone.
Let me keep going. No, no, if you, I don't know, it's up to you. It's up to you guys. If you don't know his experience and he supposedly needs to have building experience, then I would suggest possibly putting a pin in it.
I'll just say this. When the Republican Town Committee and the Democratic Town Committee put forth members for boards and commissions in town historically, they are fully vetted, meaning they've looked at these people, they've looked at their qualifications on both parties. And the general practice has been that we approve them. There's usually not a lot of discussion, but you have every right to do what you did. I don't have a specific list of qualifications in front of me.
Okay.
So there is a motion, there's a motion on the
I don't know what to
table.
tell you.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to do is, you guys have the majority, so if you want to vote him in, or do you want to see what?
Yeah, there's a motion on the table. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of Paul Brady, I don't even have which one we're doing right now. Is it?
Board of Building Appeals.
I think it's, thank you, Mr. Townman. Board of Building Appeals. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay. Aye. Nay.
Those- do you-
Aye to the nay.
Ms. Sue, do you need roll call, or do you have it?
I'm good, thank you.
Motion passes 5-2.
Okay.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the appointment of Peter Benson, 31 Middletown Avenue, to the Historic District Commission for the term of 7/15/24 to 6/30/2027.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Clancy. Any discussion on the motion? Counselor Carbone.
Yes. So apparently there has been called into question Mr. Benson's qualifications as well for this particular board. There's a lot going on with the HDC, we know, right? So we lost, unfortunately, it was tragic, and we lost its chair. So they're replacing it with, although she can't be replaced, they're having to add members. But apparently, according to Mary Dunn at the Municipal Preservation Services and our grants coordinator for this commission, we need, HDC must, and it's in, this is an email that we all received. He has to have either professional qualifications in the field of historic preservation or a strongly demonstrated interest, in support of historic preservation. And she wanted to review this person to make sure the criteria is met, because this is a requirement of maintaining certified local government designation. And is this a last minute, his experience?
It was submitted because of the request of Mary Dunn. It's been supplied to Mary Dunn.
Perfect.
And
what did she say?
She just got it. We didn't get a response from her, but we're not required to have a response from her. She said she would like to. The process is that they reviewed, to get the certified local government, the State Preservation Office reviewed all of the resumes of the sitting members, and the majority of them had to meet those criteria as listed there. So they've reviewed everybody on the commission, and they felt that they all met those standards. Mr. Benson is a new appointment. We submitted, just like it was after the others were appointed, we've submitted it. If they have any issue, they'll come back to us, and we'll bring that to you. But there's no requirement that they approve it ahead of time for the certified local government.
Okay, perfect. And then I guess my other question that had come into light was his residency. Is this, and does that matter if you're on the board? I know you have to reside within the historic district, but does it matter if you actually reside there, or you're a property owner?
Sorry?
I'm sorry.
Well, you can go.
Talking while I'm, no?
My understanding is that he's a resident here.
He's a resident, okay, because there was something was called into question whether this was his summer residence, and would that even matter?
Well, there was a period of time, but there's a lot of people that are, summer residents here that are residents here.
Again,
so,
I've talked to
yeah.
a few people on the committee,
Yeah.
and they're just concerned about people not
Being available.
coming to me, being
And
available.
if he
for
doesn't
meetings
attend
to
meetings,
come.
there are rules around that. So if you
Yeah.
don't attend so many meetings, then there's actions that we can take. So if someone's not available for meetings, then we can address that.
Okay, great.
I'm just going to comment on this one, Counselor Carbone, because
Please.
this was brought to my attention on Friday as well by a few folks in town. Mr. Benson is the husband of Mary Beth Griffith of the Griffith Academy,
Who I adore.
and he has lived in Wethersfield for the last several years, and off and on between Wethersfield and New York. He has, you can see on the resume, a lot of qualifications for this position, but we just got raised the questions, we just learned from you there was some concern tonight, and we got the resume today, but he's well qualified for this position, and is a resident, and helped restore the Griffith Academy. I think most people are familiar with the Griffith Academy in town. But he's also in the business of restoration, as you can see from.
Yeah, this is great. So I guess my last comment would be, it says to fill J. Wolf on it, and I don't know if that verbiage is necessary, because I think people are, I mean, obviously, once you're appointed to the commission, that's great, and then they themselves will appoint their chair. That's correct, right? That's how that works?
Correct.
Right. So it's not to actually fill the chair position?
No.
It's just to fill the void, the seat void? Okay. So is that, I just want to make sure that that's
It's
clear.
to fill the vacancy left by that, so that's why that's listed there. So if someone comes off the board, they're listed, that's their spot, particularly if it's off-cycle.
Yeah.
You have to list the position that it's at, and so that's why it's listed that way. But it's not to fill the chair position. They will have to elect a new
Perfect.
chair.
I just want to make sure that that was
Yep.
out there, because I think that wordage is a little, can be a little bit misleading. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. All set? Councilor Carbone, you good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this appointment? If not, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Passes. The ayes have it. Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Move to approve the appointment of Chris Breslin, 27 Somerset Street, to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the term of 7/15/24 to 6/30/2027.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Councilor Clancy. Discussion on the motion. Councilor Carbone.
Okay, so it wasn't particularly, well, obviously, she would have to recuse herself in the vote, but it wasn't that. I look at this Planning and Zoning Commission appointments, and you're replacing two people who've been on the Planning and Zoning Committee for years and years. And I don't know, I'm just concerned at this point, it's party before people. So we don't have a town planner right now. We're looking for the next one. We've gone through with 3 of them. So the level of experience that they're bringing into this, I know I was under the understanding that there will be a class that these people have to take, is that correct?
Yes.
And they'll have to be brought up to speed. One of our planning and zoning commissioners, he's been serving for 49 years. And I just also want that to be recognized. That's a huge feat in our town, somebody who's really served our town, and he's being replaced. And I think he's served us well, and there'll actually be somebody else. So it wasn't so much, in my discussions with Matt, him in particular, it was just, I feel like this is kind of an unnecessary grab, if you will, on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 2 people are going to be displaced who've been serving our community for a very long time and very well, and who have an incredible knowledge base with everything that's coming forward with us, and not having a town planner. I think it's a mistake, and that's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council comments? Councilor Dirk?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to mention a few things about Chris. He worked for Connecticut Housing Finance Authority for 3 years. He designed their housing dashboard and business intelligence infrastructure. He's an expert in housing finance and data community economic development, and he also completed 2 National Development Council trainings. He's also a former business owner, and he grew up working in a small business that faced development challenges in multiple towns in Connecticut. And he also has a Master of Public Policy from UConn. So he is a young person, but he's also well qualified, and I love to see somebody who's willing to take on that position and having all these qualifications, and lived in town for some time now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. Any further discussion? Councilor Carbone.
I appreciate you giving him a little resume, because I don't know that, so I think that's important. Again, it wasn't him specifically, what I was saying, you guys know what I'm saying.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Any other council comments? Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Just as a way of process, though, if, and I remember doing this for a long time, when there's appointments that come out, and if you did have any question, you certainly at any time, whether it's talk to whoever the party is. I remember certainly talking to Mike Rell, and the rest of it, and all the mayors over the year. But also the town manager is happy to give you any resumes or anything like that in order to get that information. So it is all, I believe, at the town manager's office and so on and so forth. So it doesn't have to feel last minute. And I know that recently, sometimes we've had a lot of those conversations about the last minute stuff. So it is there if you wanted to get it. I know we passed a resume around today, right? It bothers me when I get things last minute a little bit over the time, and it doesn't have to be that way, so.
So I'm sorry, you're saying that this is last minute for me bringing this up? Or is it last minute, this
No,
appointment?
like you just got you were asking, like, what are the
Yes.
qualifications of a
Yes,
particular
okay.
person? You just mentioned, like, hey, I just got this resume.
I was gonna say, this wasn't last minute, I reached out earlier today, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but like, it is, the information is there. If you had questions about it, and and sometimes this happens, and I expressed to you a couple of times when I voted against a particular appointment, and I had some concerns, but if it can appear that it could feel that way, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Opening up that line of communication.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Forrest. Councilor Carbone, are you?
I'm fine, yeah, thank you.
So we have a motion on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Move to approve the appointment of Doug Ovian, 56 Broad Street, to the Board of Ethics for the term of 7/15/2024 to 6/30/2026.
Second.
Discussion.
Just that I have to abstain.
Sure.
Councilor Clancy is abstaining.
It's my husband.
You want to say why?
No, he is my husband, so I'm abstaining.
Okay.
I'd like to do the ethical thing when we appoint someone to the ethics.
So noted. Thank you. Discussion on the motion.
Yes.
Councilor Carbone.
I told her I was bringing this up, so it's not last minute. So apparently, did you look into this after I had mentioned it to you earlier at all? No, about the number of Democrats that are allowed on that committee?
Oh, no, I don't know, but I was hoping the town manager could let us know, because that is important, of course, to follow the rules.
Yeah, the town clerk's office handles all the boards and commissions.
So it was my
she-
understanding that the ordinance governing the Board of Ethics says that of the 5 regular members, no more than 2 shall be of the same political party. So you already have 2. So that's
No
my...
more than 2 out of 5?
No more than 2 out of 5. So is it 2 R's, 2
Well, how would the math
D's, and
work?
a U?
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, hold on. Councilor Carbone has the floor, and then
Sorry.
I'll
Oh,
recognize.
no, yeah, explain that to me. I'm
Okay.
totally fine
So
if somebody wants to explain
Just go
it to
through
me.
the chair. Do you want to ask a question?
No, I am abstaining.
I'll
Okay.
ask that
But I
question
did have
then.
questions about the math.
Councilor Rhodes, did you,
I'm wondering about the
through the
math.
chair,
'cause
Councilor
if-
Rhodes, yes.
Thank you. I'm wondering about the math, because if
Same.
there's 2 from each party, but there's 5 on the committee, how does that work?
What, was it undecided?
So
I
I'm
don't
gonna,
know,
I'm
that's
gonna
why.
ask either the town clerk or the town manager, can you clarify?
I would assume one would be unaffiliated.
That was
We
my
were working
assumption
with a
when I saw
list
it.
today with the, about minority representation with the state, and we were waiting for them to get back to us with clarification on certain things.
Yeah, that's fine.
But this was, unfortunately, if I had realized this earlier, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
That's fine. I'm going to recommend we table this till we can get that clarified, okay?
Right, because if it, obviously that's the rule.
Let's get that clarified. We will table this. Tell your husband we tabled
And if
it.
I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Holy crap.
That appointment is tabled. I think that completes our list.
Well, I'll move to table it.
Well, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, discussion on the tabling. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
I'm
Motion-
abstaining.
Councilor Clancy abstains. Motion passes. I think that completes our appointment list. Moving on to the agenda, just bear with me, because there's many pages of the appointment list. Mr. Town Manager, we have, I think we're in new business, if I'm caught up.
Yes.
My M1 Millwoods Master Plan.
Yep.
Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to ask Kathy Bagley to come up, and she will introduce our presenter this evening and give you an overview of the project.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to give you a brief overview of the Millwoods Master Plan update. With me this evening is Luke McCoy from the firm of KBA, formerly known as Castle Booze Associates, They had done the original plan back in 2002, and now we're at the beginning stages of looking at Millwoods Park to do an update on the plan as we move forward with some of the funding we've gotten from state and ARPA funds.
Thank you, Kathleen. Please proceed.
Sure, it's working. All right. Okay. Good evening. Introduce myself, landscape architect principal with Castle Blues Associates. So we're happy to be here tonight to give you an update. We were selected by the town to work through updating the master plan. Very briefly, a little bit of background of our firm. We're located, our head office is right in New Britain, Connecticut. We've been there for over 60 years. We also have offices in Boston, Foxborough, and Providence. Our work focuses on municipal projects, so parks and recreation, K through 12 schools, and public safety facilities. As was mentioned, we completed the original master plan back in 2002, so a few years ago. And then most recently, we worked with the town on the replacement of the Catone Field at the high school as well. So we give everyone a little bit of update of, since selection over the last few weeks, what we've kind of been working on. Majority of our time has been spent doing due diligence to understand what is out there, the existing conditions, what has been done as far as discussions or improvements to the park since the original master plan in 2002. We've also met with town staff to understand and further understand any of the improvements that have been done, projects that are slated to be done based on current funding, and to start to understand the background of over the last few years of what the needs are for the overall park. We also attended the Park Board Committee meeting early to do the same type of a introduction and discussion for that meeting, and just to kind of orient everyone, and I'll kind of walk through our understandings at this time and then our next steps for the overall project. So this is the overall park, just to orient. You have your baseball, softball fields located here, which is actually to the east portion of the site. As we continue down along, this is the main drive in here, whereas if you take a right, that brings you into the beach area and the pond. Your dog park is located right in this wooded area here. As you continue back this way, your tennis courts, softball field, and then back here is parking. Under this tree cover here is the playscape, pavilion, bocce ball courts, and then finally the Little League field, which is tucked way in the back. And skate park and basketball courts are also right here. I forgot to mention before. So overall, that's kind of the park and the existing conditions, what's there now. As we began the discussions with the town, the staff, as well as the Parks Board, we started to understand a little bit more of the needs, and that's what we're going to continue doing over the next month while we try and meet those needs through some concepts. So some of the things that were discussed were the creation of updating the fields to be multi-sport for multiple different teams, and making sure that they being used at different seasons to really maximize the space. There's a lot of discussion around the need for connectivity throughout the entire park for those that are not there just for a sporting event. So making sure walking trails, pathways, things of that nature, so that someone can come into the park somewhere and actually have the ability to walk through or connect throughout the park. Another main piece that did come through was wayfinding as you enter the park, making sure that there's adequate signage so that people who haven't been there or unfamiliar with it can understand where the different amenities are within the park, how they get there, and go through. So I'll go through a couple. Again, this was just taking that information. We started to overlay the types of fields that are on that aerial that you saw there and what they're used for now, just so that we could understand how the park's being used. So you can see those fields I just mentioned and how they're laid out. We then began and took this plan, which I believe you've all seen. This was done by your engineering department months back, just starting to put down some of the notes of the previous discussions of things for there. These aren't concepts that we fully vetted or worked through yet. This was just provided to us from the engineering department. Some of the things that were mentioned were the addition of multi-sport field, a synthetic turf field, which was approved previously. Also looking at the addition of pickleball courts, which are a big need here in the town, and you currently have funding to proceed with a pickleball court project. You'll also see on here in different areas some notes for additional parking, which is something that we've heard over and over again is the park needs additional parking, but in certain locations, so access to the fields, allowing handicap accessibility, that. And then overall, some of the discussion was based around just how the fields are laid out, how it is for not only players that are there and interacting, but also for spectators or families. How it is if you're coming for an event or a tournament and fields may be too far spaced apart or not close enough together, and that overall experience of the park. So it's not just looking at lines on paper and you need another field and put it here, but also how the overall park is for those that visit it from there. So just kind of zooming in a little bit, up on the top, these are some of the notes that were provided. Again, that multi-sport field. Also looking at to the far side of the screen here, you can see this black line is actually the town's property there, but you can see that the turf farm that is located next door has actually been farming and utilizing some of the town property for their growing of turf farms. So we've been looking at that area and seeing how maybe there may be able to maximize that and fit another field in that area, and even possibly bring to this commission or the council later on if some of the property lines for swapping of some of that work out. It may benefit where they will still maintain the same amount of property, but the town may be able to have more of a squared off where we can fit an additional field there. So we'll continue to look at that, but that was something that was mentioned. Also understanding here, as you can see, the multiple baseball, softball fields, and any of the plans where that larger multi-sport field is, trying not to interrupt those, or does that whole area have to kind of be re-laid out so that they can all work and fit within there. Continuing down, I'll briefly mention some of the things. We also talked about the entranceway in, not only how that's laid out in the intersection there, but also the overall feel. Currently, if anyone's been to the park, I'm sure many of you have, it's overgrown in front of those great brick kind of curved columns you have that you don't even sense you're entering the park. So looking at ways that that can be improved, so coming in and then bringing that connectivity through. So we continue through. This plan, again, just notes the addition of pickleball, so we'll be looking at different locations where pickleball may be best suited on the site, trying to take into account a couple of things: noise of pickleball, how that may affect tennis or neighbors in the area, but also parking, things of that nature. And then the other athletic fields and uses such as the pavilion, playscape, bocce, and then the trail system throughout. We'll also be looking at, and it's not shown here, but we did discuss additional access or egress in and out. Currently now the park has one, which can be a challenge if there's an emergency and that access way is closed down, there's no other way out. So looking at the possibility, is it feasible to have a secondary egress out of the site for those areas for it. So kind of moving forward, part of why we're here tonight is to hear comments and any questions or suggestions for us to look at from this group, but we'll be continuing with the existing condition assessment to further gathering that information from engineering, and that we'll continue the outreach and information gathering, not only here, but also developing ways to have input from the public as this process continues. We'll be developing concepts based on all of that information that's gathered, the suggestions, and seeing how they fit. We'll be working through those to see what's feasible, bringing them back to the boards, commissions, to the public for comment on all of that. Those will then be refined, further developed based on that feedback, to the point where we ultimately come to a agreed upon or approved overall master plan. So the end result will be a new master plan document, very similar to the one that was created in 2002, that outlines the general overview of the town, the needs, what improvements are proposed for the park, potentially whether they would be phased and how they would work, and costs that go along with that, so that the town now has kind of a roadmap for improvements to Millwoods Park. That was kind of short, but from there kind of open it up to discussion, and really we just want to gather information. We know this has been talked about for a long time, before we were brought on board.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate your presentation and the work, and I'm going to open up to the council now. Council questions. Councilor Carbone.
Hi, nice to see you again.
You as well.
I don't know if I missed it in what you were saying. Did you put forth a time frame? I know you had mentioned in the Park and Rec Board meeting, you were talking about doing a few things, trying to get a few things going.
Sure, I did not, and thank you for that reminder. So we do know there's a couple of priorities coming out of this, is that there is funding currently available that the town has to implement, going out to bid and securing a contractor for the synthetic turf field and the pickleball courts before the end of this year in order for that funding to be available and not go away. So that is part of the priority and why we're trying to gather as much and work forward so that we can figure out the best layout for those and then try and move those forward while we're continuing the overall plan for it. But the goal would be through this summer into early fall, the information gathering, some basic concepts, backs and forths refining that, and then the fall would be the detailed drawings for the turf field and the pickleball while we're refining all of the other pieces of the park with more detail, and then moving into the first of the year, you would have your contractor on board to secure the funding for both of those to move forward, and then we would be moving into trying to finalize that master plan into the early middle of next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Carbone? Further, Councilor Dirk?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the great presentation. Just want to give you one piece of feedback, and this could be just me and some families that I know, but if I want to go from one section of the park to the other, I don't really feel comfortable having my kids walk that road. I'm almost like I should sit in my car and park on a different section. So going forward, I think we should really look into that. It is just one that stretch of the road. Sometimes people drive a bit faster than they should. So I think the overall walkability of the park, going from one section to another, leaving kids alone and having them come back, not thinking about the car, I hit them, God forbid, for me, it's a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dirk. Further council comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Luke, that was a great presentation, and I thought it was pretty thoughtful, too. And I'm excited to see the product that you are able to create for our town. Just some sort of general thoughts as you move forward and talk to some other people. The restrooms and concessions seem to be I'd say it's a standard around, certainly around New England, but if you head south, sometimes it's quite impressive, frankly. So having some consolidated fields that athletes and their families can easily go to the bathroom. We'll obviously stock it and the rest of it, but that they feel comfortable in a nice way that they can relieve themselves, that they can get some food, that the different organizations can then chip in and possibly even, use that as perhaps a bit of a money maker for them so they could provide uniforms, right, and everything else for our town. But having that concept, I think, is important for this particular facility with the amount of land that we have. Also, having some more dedicated, year-long field sports, our field sports of all kinds, they are suffering for a lot of space and use, and as I talk to them, it is really year-round now, right? There's fall baseball, there's fall and spring lacrosse and soccer, and they're playing it at all times. So having that ability, I think, would benefit our sporting community a lot and their families. Ensuring that we continue to have a park atmosphere. A lot of people over the years, and just including now, came up to me and say, hey, over time we've taken out a lot of trees, and certainly we've replaced some of them, but if there's a lot of space in order to make sure that we ensure that we have shade and that it still feels like a park rather than just a singular athletic facility, I think that having that nice balance is going to be important for the aesthetic use and the usability of the space. The trail system, which I think is kind of along what Councilor Dirk was talking about, the ability to go from one place to the other that you feel in a safe way. And there's certainly an opportunity, even as the town manager sort of laid out with the work of all of his staff, of some real opportunities there to go along the perimeter of the park so people could use it as a running trail, a walking trail, perhaps with some more trees and so forth. And then even interconnecting the different areas of the park, perhaps with that trail system, might be a benefit to everyone and really nice play for that particular space. And then on that concept, just understanding that there are going to be a lot of houses, especially along the Grizzled, heading into Grizzledville and along Grizzled Road, that that may want to ensure that they have some type of a protection and a buffer from the rest of the activities that are going on there. So to be able to be mindful of that, whether it's with landscape architect, which I know you have a degree in, and other type of natural buffers that can be made, so we can continue to be thoughtful about their interest going forward. There could possibly be an energy tie-in to a lot of the things that we discussed here. There's certainly going to be some parking space, I'm sure, whether it's enhancements or enlargements. And all we do are looking for a lot of that open space that could get a lot of sun. And there could be some dollars and a tie-in to the grants that we're moving forward with in the energy field. So you might find park and energy come together, just as some background. And also not to forget that there's a lot of other space that's unutilized. Like we don't even see the south, the really full, or in this case would be the eastern part of it's on the bottom of the screen, the eastern part of the park, which is even depicted here, which could be opened up to be used more. There's different space along the church there, and the trail system could go a little bit deeper into the woods to provide some extended viewing opportunities for this passive recreation, bird watching, running, and then of course we have the fishing area as well. And I do see people regularly, just because I did give the Little League report a little while ago, using that fishing area and also using that pavilion and the cooking outside area. And I see that being used more, I would say, than I have in the past. And so there might be opportunities for thoughtful expansion of that to be able to provide more opportunities for the families to be able to use the park in that manner, where you just want to have a family get together, or maybe a celebration for a Little League game or a soccer game or a lacrosse team, right? So I could see a little expansion in that area as well. It's food for thought as you move forward, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Further council comments? Luke, let me just say a big thank you. We appreciate the work so far. We look forward to the future, and we look forward to the pickleball courts, the new field there, and the whole new and beautiful redesign. We appreciate your efforts, so thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be back with updates as we go through the process.
Thank you very much. Moving on.
Thank you.
We have, I keep losing my place, I apologize. Item M2, elementary school request for proposals, RFP for consultant. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all know, there's been a committee that's been set up to begin the process, a building committee, to begin the process of looking at the elementary schools. They've had several meetings. Out of one of their more recent meetings, they unanimously approved the issuance of a request for proposals for consultant services. It's really going to be picking up off of the work that had been done previously prior to the last bond referendum, but taking it a step forward, looking at a suite of 3 potential proposals, taking the work that had been accomplished, and then adding whatever needs to be added to that in order that the committee that can then make a recommendation back to the council on what to do for a future bond referendum for the elementary schools. So that's basically it's just getting your approval to issue this RFP, at which point we'll be coming back to you in about a month's time with the selection recommendation, and then at that time you'll be asked to allocate funds to also fund this project.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Questions by councilors? Councilor Carbone.
So I'm actually glad Bobby's in the audience tonight, because I have a question as going forth with this. So it's my understanding that the Board of Education had passed something different than what is presented by the school building committee. Is that correct?
Mr. Town Manager, can we?
Can I ask that?
You can ask. You can ask the chairwoman to come up to the microphone.
Can we have the chair or members of the committee who want to speak to this? So.
Thank you.
Chairwoman Bobby, there's a question.
You picked a good night, Bobby.
So could you repeat your question again for me?
So it was my understanding, and please, I always ask, correct me if I'm wrong, always. is my understanding that the Board of Education had approved the scenarios, the proposal with 4 scenarios, is that correct? And then my understanding is that the committee then altered it to 3.
So we did this once before.
Okay.
And the referendum failed. Now we're doing it again, and the Board of Ed did an RFP. And in that RFP was very similar to what has been passed by the building committee. The Board of Ed's RFP had the models we wanted to look out that came out of our ad hoc committee, which was a combination of many people from the town who gave us suggestions on what they wanted for the model for our schools. In other words, do you want 5 elementary schools? Do you want 4 elementary schools? Do you want cluster schools? Do you want a 5-6? So there were many models out, and we actually got it down to 3.
And when you say we, that's you, the Board of Education.
Pardon me?
And when you say we, that's you, right, the Board of Education?
So we gathered all this information, as much as we possibly could, before this meeting of the Board of Ed, a special meeting.
Okay.
And we came up with our own recommendation in the RFP that we did.
Okay.
The Board of Ed did. That RFP then went to the building committee. And the building committee, and I'm going to be honest with you, tweaked it. And they tweaked it so, and I do like it very much, that the third option, I'll tell you all 3 in a minute, the third option was, because we still seem to never get it all, the whole picture, because of the fact there's so many options out there, let's let the consultant look at it and see what they might come up with for us to, and this is what this RFP is to investigate. And I'll be honest with you, I've never built a school, so I'm not really versed on what we could possibly do out there. I'd have a dream school, but what can we possibly do out there to fit the town of Wethersfield? That's what the new third option became for this RFP.
Okay, and did they ask approval for that, or they don't have to?
The Board of Ed does not, no.
No, this committee, they don't have to get approval from the Board of Education to change your RFP going forward?
They're yours, so they get
confused.
approval from you, which is why it's on the agenda, so they don't have to go back to the Board of Ed.
Right.
So, and you're
Okay,
good with it?
it really is, it's all up and up.
Okay, and you're happy with it?
Very.
Okay.
I'm very happy that it's starting again.
Perfect, okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council questions?
I have, actually, I'm
Oh,
not
you have the
complete,
floor.
and I just want to make sure, so this is for us, so, right, for this, okay, so that's great clarification, thank you. So, scenario number 2, I just want to, for sake of clarity, is without Charles Wright, is that correct?
It's saying going down to 4 schools, so it's
Yes.
not,
They're not picking which school?
it's not picking which one, but it's going to go down to, reducing down to 4 schools, if that makes sense.
It does, okay, thank you.
Councilor Carbone, all set?
Yes, thank you.
Further council questions or comments?
Thank you.
Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to, make sure I'm on the right one, item N1, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just an agreement between DOT and the town, and this is something that they require, and it's for agreement for rights-of-way projects. And the previous agreement that we had is expiring, and they just need that was a 10-year agreement, and they want us to renew this agreement. So this is a resolution that is required by DOT, and it's for introduction only, and we'll have more presentation at the next meeting for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Moving on to item O. Now we have our second public comment. Anybody wish to speak, you have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address. Robin, I saw your hand first. Robin Barassa, go ahead.
Robin Barassa, 248 Dale Road. Just a couple of comments regarding some of the counselor comments tonight. First of all, thank you as always. It's a thankless job, whether any of us agree with anything you do or not. It's not easy being up there, and you do sacrifice for the town, and in spite of what you may think of some of us coming up here, we do appreciate it. I do, at least. But a couple of the things that I want to say in regards to what some of the counselors spoke about tonight, and some people that got up here about hate speech and feeling safe. I agree with that wholeheartedly, but I feel the need to actually comment that it wasn't anyone, there were people that actually made hateful comments and called people names during this whole flag policy situation regarding the thin blue line. You know who you are. Some are here, some are not here. And that's what really started instigating a lot of the issues that occurred. And listening tonight to Councilor Rhodes and in the book club Choice, the Anxious Generation, and Mayor mentioning that social media and the phone, it's sort of ironic to me that quite a hateful statement was made by a council member against another council member. That was a hateful comment to me. And people got up here to defend the other counselor, Counselor Bailey. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. That is what hate speech is. And I'm going to say that. And when you call people names such as being racist or white supremacist, or, making a public comment on social media, that makes people feel unsafe and anxious. And I think that when you ask us to let things go, Councilor Rhodes, I don't disagree with you, but this runs deep and hard with many of us. And some of us aren't going to let it go. We're not going to move on. I know a lot of people think, give it a few weeks, it'll die down, people will forget about it. They're not going to forget about this. Maybe some will, some won't. The other thing that I would also like to comment, thank you to Councilor Carbone. Actually, I was wondering about the ceremonies associated with flags. Whatever group or organization that has a flag raising ceremony, I think that's fine under your new policy that I disagree with. However, the associated extra costs and expense for possible law enforcement for protection and overtime for town workers, if a group or organization has to provide the flag, they should pick up the tab. This town is being squeezed with an increase in a mill rate, an upcoming expensive renovation, reevaluation, really good things happening with Millwoods Park. Some of that money is ARPA grant money, but these are very big expense items. And I don't believe that was agreed upon in your new flag policy, the associated expenses of law enforcement and town workers working overtime. So I think we really need to look at that going forward. And if we're going to ask those organizations to provide the flag, they need to provide the payment or however it can be handled for the extra workers and law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Robin. Further public comments? Mr. Young, I think I saw you raise your hand. Did you raise your hand, Mr. Young? Yes, Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. As I was indicating, or talking earlier, regarding the first speaker at the June 3rd Town Council meeting, I put in this FOI, which the town manager had provided information, and one of the informations that he had provided me was that he provided a statement from Miss Sally Katz, Director of Physical Services, who's responsible for all the repairs. And remember, this person's complaining that repairs aren't being done. She's responsible for repairs and maintenance of all town buildings. The town full-time, and what she said is, quote, full-time and on-call licensed trades, in the parentheses, HVAC, that's heating, ventilation and air conditioning, and plumbing and electrical staff, in addition to support from our carpenters and our journeymen. Continuous monitor, maintenance, and repairs are done to our equipment. In the event a repair is specialized or too extensive for our staff to perform alone, we seek assistance from other contractors based on knowledge of our systems and the capabilities to perform, time and material costs, and availability to assist our staff. We do not, she goes on, we do not maintain open purchase orders or contracts with these companies. We contact them as needed and receive pricing based on current issues, unquote. So what Ms. Katz is saying, her staff is out there working on our buildings. When this individual talks about roofs leaking, stench and mold and mildew, and mice infestation, the high number of students per classroom is not part of what Sally was talking about. But the poor repairs and fixes to our buildings and issues involving faulty air and heating conditions and the lack to properly regulate and control the output of heat and cooling to coincide with the seasons is something that's in Sally's venue. And she's indicating that she's taking care of all of this. Now, the care of all of our town buildings, inside and out, and that includes the schools, they're the responsibility of our town manager. And if anybody has a problem, they should be calling him and talking to him about the issue. But also, for me, doing this research and listening to the comments that were devastating to our buildings, that were so dishonest, I just cannot believe that you, Mr. Manager, and Mr. Mayor, would let this go on. That person you knew that there were contracts in place. You knew that there was work that had been done and has constantly been done to our buildings, yet that person was allowed to talk and spread or spew disinformation on the buildings that we have. And I believe that the town has all these service contracts for various types in place for all our buildings for long years. And I really question the motivation and the timing of this speaker. Now, I recall 2007, 2008, sitting in the auditorium next door at the school where discussions were going on regarding hiring a company to come in and take care of the oversight of our roofs. Back in 2007, 2008. Now, if we've had companies assigned all these years, how can anybody say that our roofs are leaking and that everything is terrible inside and mold and whatever else? There's no support for it unless our management is not stepping up when they're hearing about this and they're not
Mr. Young,
having
your
it
time is up.
having
I'll
it
ask you to summarize your
repaired. You
final
know what I'm
comments.
saying?
Thank you,
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Martha?
Martha Keneally, 12 Fairmont Street. Thank you for passing the RFP. That's a good thing. Keep that moving. I did want to comment on the discussion around boards and commissions. Boards and commissions reflect the makeup of the council, and I guess I have several comments. I first want to clarify that the entire list of boards and commissions, the appointments, Democratic appointments, were provided to the town clerk's office and to the Republican Town Committee on June 26th. And so it's been 3 weeks. And I will say our typical practice, there's actually a very robust back and forth with the clerk CC'd between the screening committee chair and the representatives of the Republican Town Committee to go over this. This is something kind of that is worked on collaboratively to make sure all spots are filled. When there are questions, we have always been able to ask each other those questions and have these clarifying conversations so that we don't have to really discuss the merits of folks who are volunteering in a public forum. But just because names have been raised, I will say, first of all, in terms of the the Board of Building Appeals, I did just reference the charter, Chapter 5, Section 508 of the charter, makes no reference at all to having a specific qualification for being on the building committee. Mr. Brady, though, that's a reappointment. He has been serving on the committee. Mr. Brady has a law degree and extensive municipal experience. Peter Benson has lived in Wethersfield for the last 4 years. His primary residence, he has owned a home, and his residence, his full-time residence, has been in Wethersfield for 4 years. The Griffith Academy building is a showpiece in Old Wethersfield, as is his beautifully restored historic home. And he certainly meets all of the qualifications, and we're delighted. Both Mr. Brady and Mr. Benson have stepped up. I know there's some conversation around the Board of Ethics. There's 4 full-time members of the Board of Ethics, and so that's why 2 are the full and 2 are not, and then there's alternates, and then whomever holds the committee, the council holds that. And again, these are the discussions that we have back and forth with the Republican chair to say, how does that work? We have discussions quite in depth about our minority representation, and so we do look at all of these things, and so, you know, and I ask questions, they ask questions. I'm going to be honest. When Councilor Carbone, when you were appointed to the council, you didn't actually have a residence in Wethersfield. You had just sold your home, and so that was a question I asked the Republican town chair, and he went to the state and clarified that point. And that was discussed, and my question was answered, and I appreciated the quick turnaround on the answer, and you were approved unanimously by this council. And so I'm very proud of the process that we go through in screening our candidates. We look at resumes, we look at qualifications, and I'm very proud of that. I also will say that no one is being replaced. When the way that you shift over from one party to another in the majority on boards is when there are openings, when terms are up, then those replacements are made. And that's just how that goes. It's very arbitrary. It's when a term is up, then if that board needs to switch to a majority leadership by the other party, then those are just filled. So no one is replaced. It's just appointments, new appointments are made. And so, you know, we very much value the volunteers, the hundreds of volunteers really that make our boards and commissions work. There's so many people who do thankless work and are incredibly well qualified. We have a very talented town. And I'm very proud of our volunteers, and I appreciate having served on boards and commissions. I also can say that they operate in a very bipartisan way where you would hardly know who was from what party. And so I'm just very proud of them and
Martha, I'm going to ask
work.
you to summarize. Your time is up.
That's it. That's what I got.
Thank you, Martha. Further public comment? Seeing none, I will obtain a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.